Hello, dear students. This is the second part of chapter number 1 of Democratic Politics, Power Sharing. In the previous part, in the first part, we studied about two case studies of Belgium and Sri Lanka and witnessed that how the social diversities were accommodated in both the countries. And we came to a conclusion that yes, power sharing is desirable. Now, why power sharing? If we look at the two case studies, yes, power sharing is desirable because of prudential and moral reasons. Power sharing is good because it reduces conflicts between social groups. Imposing will of majority community undermines the unity of the nation, as we have seen earlier in the case of Sri Lanka. Power sharing is very spirit of democracy, means if you are a democratic country, it is the moral responsibility of the country that power should be equally distributed and exercised by all. It should not remain in the hand of a single person. A democratic rule involves sharing power with those who are affected by its exercise, means the people who are leaving, they are affected by its exercise, so they also are required to involve in power sharing, and those who have to leave with its effect. So two reasons are there. One is prudential reason, another one is moral reason. Let us quickly look at some of the prudential reasons. Number one is it reduces the possibility of conflicts. We have seen in the case of Belgium that power was shared equally. It reduced the possibility of conflict. But it was not practiced in Sri Lanka, and it resulted in a civil war. Second prudential reason is it provides stability to the government. Government is stable, and if government is stable, it is able to take the decisions which are good for a country. If we talk about some of the moral reasons, power sharing is the very spirit of democracy. Just suppose if I am a teacher, what is my moral responsibility to teach you? Being a student, what is your moral responsibility? To acquire knowledge, to be a learner, to be a good learner. The same how democracy is also having some moral reasons of power sharing. Power sharing is the very spirit of democracy. People have a right to be consulted, and that's why elections are held after every 5 years. People should elect, they should participate in the process, and this is how they share a part in power. So this was all about that why power sharing is desirable. Moving towards the next topic, students, forms of power sharing. We have discussed that it is desirable. Now we will discuss that what are the forms of power sharing. So there are four forms of power sharing. One, power is shared among different organs of the government. Second, power is shared among government at different levels. Power is shared among different social groups. And the fourth one is power is also shared among political parties, pressure groups, and movements. Now let us discuss the first one. Power is shared among different organs of the government. This is also known as the horizontal distribution of power. Horizontal distribution power because of its horizontal in nature. The legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. These are the organs of the government. And it is also called horizontal distribution of power. And this results in balance of power among various institutions because all the three institutions check each other whether they are performing well or not. Legislature, what is the work of legislature? To frame laws. And what is the work of judiciary? The work of judiciary is to look after whether the laws which are framed, it is applicable or not. Judicially, it is correct or not. Whether it is acceptable or not. Now, judiciary, who appoints the judiciary? Executives. Yes, the answer is executives. They appoint judiciaries. And legislature also. Both. Legislature and executives, they appoint judiciary. Somehow or other, their consultation is required. So this system is called system of checks and balances, and it ensures that none of the organ can exercise unlimited powers. All the three institutions, they check each other. That's why it is called checks and balances. Here you can see the power sharing among different organs of the government. Legislature, it makes law. Executive implements law. Judiciary resolves dispute. This is a system which is called check and balance. Now moving to the second type of power sharing. Power is shared among government at different levels. This is also called vertical distribution of power. Likewise, we are having three levels: central government, state government, and local or self-government. Local self-government. This is how power is shared between the three levels of the government. Central government is having its own jurisdiction which falls under union list. State government is having its own jurisdiction which is called state list. And local self-government is also independent to take some of the decisions. That we will study in the second chapter of this subject. Now, power is shared among different political parties, pressure groups. In a democracy, the citizen must have freedom to choose from the various contenders. Means various contenders. Who are the various contenders? Who participate, who contest for election. This takes form of competition among different political parties. Such competition ensures that power does not remain in one hand. Power does not remain in one hand. They have to perform well. Then and only they will be elected by the citizens, or else they will be thrown away in the next election. In a democracy, we find interest groups such as traders, businessmen, industrialists, farmers, workers. Who are these pressure groups or interest groups? Suppose traders, they are having their own trade unions. Workers, they are having their trade unions. Businessmen, they are having their unions. Industrialists, they are having their own unions. Farmers, they are having Kisan Morcha or something like that. And they are the interest group, means they talk about the interest of a particular field. Union of workers, they talk about welfare of workers. Feminist movements, they talk about females for their equal rights. So these are the interest groups. In a democracy, different parties compete to come to power. And if no case get majority, then two or more parties form an alliance to come to power and form coalition form of government. Means when none of the parties they get majority number of seats, then two or more parties come together to form the government. That is called coalition form of government. This is how political parties they share power. Pressure groups and movements, I told you, the trade unions, the workers, the farm, they are having their unions. They are the pressure groups. They are the interest groups who try to put pressure on the government to take certain decisions in favor of them. Social groups, under this arrangement, government and administration give space to the diverse social groups. In this way, minority communities get a fair share in power. They can form unions, they can form associations which try to put pressure on the government to take certain decisions in their favor. So this was how the power sharing arrangement is there in our country. Power is shared among different organs of the government. I told you it is horizontal in nature: legislature, judiciary, executives. Different levels of the government, I told you: central government, state government and local government. Third, which I told you, among different social groups, I told you about the workers' unions, farmers, industrialists. I told you about political parties, coalition form of government, pressure groups. Pressure groups do not contest in elections, students. They never contest in election. They only try to put pressure on the government so that government could take some of the decisions in their favor. That is all about this chapter. Thank you and have a nice day.